Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We begin in the name of Allah. All praise and glory be to Allah, and His finest peace and blessings be upon His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and his family and his companions, and all those who tread his path. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to teach us that which will benefit us, and benefit us with that which He has taught us, and to increase us all in knowledge. Allahumma ameen. So we continue with discussing the rulings on Siyam, the rulings on fasting. Yesterday we discussed what breaks the fast. Tonight, just some common, misconceptions about what breaks the fast. So if we're going to phrase it as a question, what does not break the fast that many people may fear breaks the fast? I would say the number one, in my just very limited experience, misconception about what breaks the fast that I always get is that missing suhoor breaks the fast. Many people think that if you don't have the pre-dawn meal, you can't fast. And this is absolutely not true. The scholars are actually in agreement. There's ijma' that suhoor is mustahab, that suhoor is recommended, meaning you are rewarded and there's great barakah, blessing in having suhoor, the pre-dawn meal, snack, whatever you'll call it. But there is no sin and no effect on your fast for missing the suhoor, sahri meal. Have you guys ever met people that think suhoor is required for the fasting? I remember clearly, the first time I was caught off guard by it was a very good friend of mine in college. He had a coffee in his hand in the middle of the daytime in Ramadan, and I knew, he wouldn't just not fast. I told him, inshallah, you're okay. I thought he was sick or something. He said, no man, I miss suhoor. I'm like, and? He said, yeah, you can't fast if you miss suhoor. I said, who in the world told you this? And so just be clear that if you miss suhoor, just, power through. And suhoor is not really about nutrition. It is really about the barakah. There are some people that can even say that when they have suhoor, they may even feel a little bit hungry because their juices are flowing from the food that they just had. So it is about the blessing found in this blessed meal. The Prophet ﷺ said, do not give up suhoor, فَإِنَّ فِي السُّحُورِ barakah. There is great blessing in suhoor, but that's it. Suhoor, missing it does not break the fast. The next thing that a person may wonder if it breaks the fast or not is throwing up. We discussed this yesterday already, that the hadith differentiates between inducing vomit, you making yourself throw up, and you throwing up involuntarily. So if you throw up involuntarily, you're fine. Your fast is not broken by that. If you're sick and you threw up and you're exhausted after throwing up and you need to break your fast, feel free, right? We'll talk about that on later nights, but it by itself doesn't automatically break your fast. Also, a common one, people ask about if I sleep through the daytime in Ramadan, does my fast still count? For sure, you shouldn't be sleeping through the daytime in Ramadan, but this question, the scholars did speak about it because there could be someone who was in a coma for an entire day or several days. So did it count because I was fasting? Because before I went into coma, I had niyyah to fast, and technically I didn't eat for those days, so do those count or not? They said that if you are sleeping for the majority of the day, but you still are awake, meaning you've acted on your intention to fast for a part of the day, your fast is valid. Whereas if you were unconscious for the entire day, then you never actually restrained from anything during your day. And in that case, you would make up the day. So sleeping a long time during the daytime will not be breaking your fast either. The next one that comes to mind, people ask a lot about like ear drops and eye drops and nasal sprays and asthma pumps and otherwise. This is a little bit controversial, but so many of the mu'asirun, the contemporary scholars, hold that these don't break the fast, because many of the scholars that discussed this in the past and did believe they break the fast, they would clearly say it is because they believed, according to the science of their time, that these reach the stomach, they reach the ma'idah, right? The stomach, and so they're somewhat nutritional in a sense. They take the space of food or reach the same destination as food. But we know now that, the nicotine patch, for example, or the eardrop, or even what is sprayed for an asthma pump, it is supposed to clear your lungs. Maybe some, insignificant amount may go down your food tract, but that is not intended, and that is not the majority of where it goes, especially if you know how to use a pump, which most people do, who have to use it. And so basically the eardrop, the eye drop, the nasal, the patches, the creams, the injections, all of these injections, that if they're not nutritional, then you're fine. Even Brother Bati yesterday asked me about tablets. We said if you ingest something orally, you swallow something, if you need to have a tablet because you're sick, fine. But fine and make up the day, you know? But the tablet, the scholars even said as an example of what doesn't break the fast, that if it's a sublingual tablet, the tablet that melts under your tongue and is absorbed by your gums, but you don't actually ingest it, once again, it's not going to your stomach, so it was not orally ingested, and so therefore, it would not break the fast. Again, controversial, but that is what it is. The last thing would be blood tests. Blood tests. Do blood tests break the fast? No, blood tests don't break the fast. The scholars debate on hijama. Hijama is blood cupping. You know, when you release some blood, it's a medical procedure, been known for thousands of years. The Prophet ﷺ approved of it and recommended it. But that removes a lot of blood, number one. And so, if you believe hijama breaks your fast, the scholars will say blood tests don't match. Blood tests don't match because blood tests are very little amount of blood. So of course, if you go to a dentist and you bleed even less than a blood test, that also is not going to be breaking your fast. Light bleeding will not break your fast. And even if you do hijama, hijama is controversial, meaning there are reports from Anas ibn Malik and others that suggest that this was, the Prophet ﷺ said, Aftar al-Hajim wal-Mahjum. This was in the beginning of Islam when people were getting used to fasting, and so he said, if you do this, you can't fast, basically. Your fast is invalid. Whereas later on in Islam, it was permitted to fast and do hijama at the same time. But unless there's a necessity to perform this hijama, this blood cupping, there's no reason for you to go into that gray area. But in general, blood tests and like little bleeding here and there, this will not break your fast according to any scholar. The last thing I wanted to say, because I've already gone to 7 minutes, all the things that I said to you yesterday break your fast will still not break your fast. If they were done out of ignorance or accidentally, like out of ignorance, you didn't know it broke your fast, or forgetfulness, you forgot that it broke your fast, and you forgot that you were fasting, or that sort of thing, or coercion, which is being forced. These three, according to the majority, the Malikis wouldn't accept forgetfulness. Anyway, but these three, according to the majority, if they're there, then you're all right, you're still fasting. Your eating would not break your fast. Your marital relations would not break your fast. If it happened out of ignorance, or out of forgetfulness, or out of coercion, compulsion. And this is because these three were combined in a very famous hadith, multiple hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ said, رُفِعَ عَنْ أُمَّتِي الْخَطَأُ وَالنِّسْيَانُ وَمَا اسْتُكْرِهُ عَلَيْهِ. My ummah has been pardoned, forgiven for mistakes, meaning things you did by accident, and forgetfulness, and whatever they were forced to do. So those are the things that don't break your fast. We discussed them today. And the things that do break your fast from yesterday, if it was out of mistakenness, ignorance, or forgetfulness, or under compulsion, those wouldn't break your fast either. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Jazakallahu khair.